Hello everybody, welcome back for StarCraft 2 action. And in the red trunks, bottom left, we have GuMiho going up against Maru in the blue trunks. On the red side of Ultralove, the map field is not lore accurate. And of course, this is the Homestory Cup 26. And both of these players are in the winner's semis. Quick skip to clean my glasses. Both of these players in the winner's semis. Loser drops to the loser's bracket. So actually has a second life. They gained that or earned that by winning in the quarter finals, I suppose, or the quarter round. GuMiho won against Hero Marine in a TVT, which was ridden with lag. Do not recommend watching that series. It was very weird. Maybe if you're a TVT expert, you can make sense of it. But almost all of the games were very fast and just ended super anticlimactically. And Maru won a 3-0 versus Ryung, his teammate on Vitality. And what I gathered from this TVT overload so far is that it's all about getting those factory/starport units early, get the third gas up early. Everybody gets an expansion. You either get it before or after factory. We see this double gas build a lot that GuMiho's doing, but what's also viable is what Maru's doing right now. Thank you guys for showing that off. Going for the one gas, CC low earlier, then factory, or you go for double gas, factory first, pull out of gas, go for the CC, as GuMiho's doing right now. And then they go for some type of techie build. Like, you get a single cyclone, you get one raven, you get one Viking into two ravens, or you get the banshees, or you get like two cyclones, or you get two reapers, three hellions, do a little pressure, or you go for 4 marines and a siege tank and a medevac. You drop your opponent with them, and like some type of like little cutesy move, and you try to take an advantage with that, and then you try to snowball that into a longer game, either going marine tank. We've seen some mech coming out of mostly Ryung. GuMiho's done it as well. And of course we had the Thor mech versus Sky Mech, Ryung versus Maru. I do recommend you go back and watch that. Their game on Ultralove was amazing. That was very cool. The rest of the series was so-so, but that was very cool. And we see the double Reaper, one Hellion going into the main here. GuMiho getting the scouting and trying to get some damage done here. Does get a couple of unit kills. Oh, the Hellion of Maru doesn't get the last shot, but there's still this annoying Marine in the bunker, making sure that these units will eventually die. This Hellion takes revenge for his brethren, or does he not? Nope. Reaper does not get back home safely to his wife and children, but instead dies on the battlefield. If he was a Klingon, that would be a better death. A better lived life. So we see Viking coming out for Maru here, starting that air domination early on, whereas we see a Banshee for GuMiho. That is cool. No cloak, though. And no quick gas, so probably not planning on like a bunch of ravens. Is getting a third command center. I would be surprised to not see any ravens whatsoever, but he just doesn't have the gas right now. So Ultralove, of course, we've seen on this map every time that siege tanks get dropped on these ledges and abuse the opponent's natural. Maru even, I think, almost had to lift his natural against Ryung and crazily bust out. Oh, we do see a raven coming out from GuMiho here, and also a raven from Maru. Both players going for a third command center as well. Of course, the winner moves on to the winners finals, where they get top 3 guaranteed. And they play versus the winner of Clem Serral. So if Maru wins and Serral wins, we get a Serral Maru. Or if they both lose, we get a Serral Maru. But we'll see what happens. See what the Raven count is at. Both players, 1 Raven. And GuMiho switching off, whereas Maru starts his second one. We don't have the interference matrix, so it's just for auto turrets, I suppose, and for the Dorito cannon, the minus armor missile. GuMiho putting a siege tank in a position that it can almost hit all of the annoying spots, but I feel like that window is kind of passing. GuMiho pulling out the mech game one right away, going for a second factory with Viking production on the starport to make sure that he has that air superiority. Of course, if you can spot your opponent, they can't siege inside of your siege tank range and then scan and then kill your siege tank, which is kind of how siege tanks interact. When you have vision, they don't move, and as soon as the vision dissipates, they inch forward, they crawl forward, kind of like a reaver, just kind of leapfrog forward a little bit, and then they scan you, and then they are in range and have vision, whilst you have no vision, and then they shoot your tank and they kill it. It's like 3 or 4 shots with a tank, so it can go pretty fast. GuMiho actually moving out with a mech force, getting his third base behind it, getting the gases right away, getting a second starport. No armory just yet, has the Banshee at home. And, ooh, I like that he's sieging up the potential third here of Maru, whom is going for bio himself, does not have any control over his third area. And GuMiho, oh, lets it land, doesn't block it, gets a couple nice shots in with the siege tanks. And this cyclone, ooh, gets nice shots on this Viking. Viking does not die. It's orbital actually sustaining a lot of damage here. This can't go down because that is game-ending damage. SCVs do come in, and GuMiho sieges up with the tanks once again. Dude, he's getting so much damage on this orbital, but the siege tanks can't reach it. It's in the sky after all. And we all understand that's how it works, right? Artillery can't hit air targets. And the orbital flies away. Gets kept alive by these SCVs, but GuMiho across the map with a mech army, 5 tanks. And of course the map to do it is Ultralove. And Maru really has to make sure that these tanks don't get these gnarly positions where they can actually start shelling away at the natural of GuMiho. GuMiho on the back of this, starting at 4th base, now gets out of his base, even with some SCVs. And Maru, is he gonna go for a bust here? Or is he just gonna run across the map and go into the 3rd base of GuMiho? Could try and punish that. If you just have like 2 or 3 tanks at home, you can probably defend against GuMiho indefinitely if you have the scans to burn. Oh, the Marines use stim, don't get the cyclone, but no, they get that. Yeah, they get the cyclone kill. Something went into siege tank range and just died. And oh my god, the interference matrices from the Ravens shut down all 5 of the tanks. The Marines stim in to win and clean up 5 siege tanks for free. And that is a big loss there for GuMiho. He was just kind of cruising around with the Vikings, expecting that he could find the Ravens, but the Ravens found the angle. They threaded the needle. But enough siege tanks at home here for Gumi to keep him alive. We do have enough energy on the Ravens for 1 more interference matrix. 75 energy after all. And these Vikings are just kind of patrolling, like, where is that 3rd base? He hasn't seen it. But I think he can guess. He can guesstimate that has landed somewhere else. The Vikings get a nice supply depot kill. Some Viking harassment by landing. I try this in team games a lot, where I go like proxy Viking, and then I have a factory at home, and then I research the transformation upgrade, and it's always so bad. It's always bad, but it's funny. We just rush 4 Vikings with the quick transformation upgrade. Oh my god, 3 turrets completely annihilating all of those. Medivacs and the Marines, only 1 value Marine gets into the main base, whilst 14 SCVs have died to this Viking run by, and of course this 1 battlecruiser that you guys obviously saw in the production tab, and I didn't have to mention it because you guys already saw it. This battlecruiser, what a monster, 11 kills, and it's just pulling Maru apart. GuMiho, the Vikings are still alive. These value Vikings in the back. Great thumbnail right there. Oh my god. That is crazy. some Viking value right there. Poor Maru, dude. He's just getting owned. Scans the 4th base. Oh! Oh, if you're in Maru's position, you're like, oh, I don't even have my 4th base on location yet. I don't have it saturated at all. I don't have the SCVs. My army count is kind of iffy. Ooh, I'm kind of getting owned, bro. Like, you know you have to play the long game here as Maru, because you can't just be inefficient. Because actually, you've lost a lot more minerals. Not as much gas, but a lot more minerals than your opponent. Like, you have to just abuse the heck out of the fact that you can still control the map. And try to get back into this game slowly but surely, because I don't think you can trade inefficiently into GuMiho for the next 10 minutes with just throwing bio at him over and over again. And Maru is throwing down 2 more starports to try and get a lot of air units out. Let's see what he does with those. Is he going to go for the Libs? Is he going to go for the Vikings? Or is he going to go into battle cruisers? He's going for Ravens. Okay, so we get 1 Raven. We get another tech lab on the other starport. So it's going to be Ravens. And for GuMiho, we see the Cyclones. We see the Blue Flame upgrade. The Battle Mech is coming out. We already have 12 siege tanks, so I guess, you know, the 13th and the 14th siege tank aren't gonna do that much. Even though it feels like GuMiho's a little spread out on this map, these small bridges, like we saw in Ryung versus Maru, do make a big difference. Because you can't really get over these when there's a couple siege tanks over there. So there's only, like, this ramp and this ramp that you can get up until you kill the rocks. And for some reason, StarCraft players just kind of, like, don't recognize rocks on new maps. They're just kind of like, those are unkillable. It takes too much time to kill those. I am not killing those. I don't know what the repercussions will be if I kill those rocks. The rock gods might be angered. Dustin Browder might look me up. And in a couple months, he will be in my bedroom staring at me. Buddy, kill my rocks. GuMiho has moved across the map with his +1 siege tanks, and he's moving forward. Look at that. Maru gets the scan, and this tank says, no, 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 I don't want to die. And it kills the 1 siege tank. This Banshee's trying to put in work, but... oh, it has 1 HP, and now it did die. Battlecruisers of GuMiho teleport in, and they start shooting at the siege tanks as well, and Maru's being pushed back out of his 4th base. Whereas GuMiho is pushing forward. Sorry, I tried to zoom out a little more because we want to see this full siege line. And... damn, the battlecruisers, dude, they have so much armor. It's very hard for the Marines to deal with those solo. And Maru has been losing the air war, so we can't really push back GuMiho in any sense. Any useful way. He doesn't have nukes or anything. Like, how do you deal with the siege line as Maru right now? A lot of Hellbats are even walking into your base. The bio walks into the siege line. Maru just sends it full stop, no stop, and all of these tanks are shut down, but the tanks in the back are still dealing damage, and the interference matrix is wearing off. And GuMiho takes down Maru here in game number 1. I mean, I told you, it's all about the early kerfuffle. You take a lead, and then you keep it, and GuMiho took a pretty early lead. I loved that push with the siege tanks on the potential 3rd of Maru, got the Vikings in the back, had the battlecruiser at the other 3rd base, and Maru just taking so much damage, and has to surrender here in game number 1. And for game number 2, we load up into Frostline Ladder Edition, where GuMiho is now up 1-0 against Maru, and Maru had a pretty rough game 1. If he wants to come back in the series, just anything has to go right, really? Because it kind of felt like everything went wrong. GuMiho really pulled one over on him, and Maru is gonna try and get some momentum in his favor, sends out the SCVs to build some proxy barracks, and send those Reapers straight into his main base. When Hero Marine did this versus GuMiho, didn't go so well for Hero Marine, but maybe Maru is built differently. So let's see how it pans out. Of course, Maru, last game, got siege tank pushed, wasn't quite ready for it. Lost the air war, got harassed by Vikings. His own drop flew into 3 turrets and died. The battlecruiser teleported in an unprotected base and killed everything. Like, and then he just got siege tank pushed and he just didn't have anything to really deal with the siege tanks. His plan was I have less siege tanks and air superiority. But he also made Ravens to try and shut down all of the siege tanks and then stim to win. But GuMiho just had more tanks than Maru could practically shut down with the interference matrix. And you also saw like the rocks being dropped by, I'm not sure whom, I think GuMi, protecting his own tanks from any of the SCVs or Marines getting on top of the tanks. And of course, every other unit is pretty low range compared to a siege tank. Now, GuMiho hasn't scouted at all, so this is going to be a full stop surprise. And all that GuMi has is a Marine right now. Reapers coming out here for Maru. And neither player has any information on the other one just yet, but 2 Reapers probably going to be jumping into the base of GuMiho here and wreaking havoc. Could be a very anticlimactic end to the game here if the Marine just dies and the Reaper just pops out. Where's that Marine? It's hidden somewhere. And here come the Reapers. The units of GuMiho got the first shot on the Reaper of Maru. Oh, the Reaper of Maru gets out there, has 12 health remaining, 6 health, and killed the Marine as well. Now, the only thing that GuMiho has left remaining for himself is this Hellion. Hellion does bonus damage to light, so the Reaper's pretty unhappy to get burned in the face like that. And one Reaper does go down. GuMiho keeps his chances alive, but maybe this SCV at this command center is not too happy to see these Reapers come in. Another Reaper comes in. GuMiho, of course, knows by all these Reapers showing up that these racks are pretty close to his home. And Maru actually trying to shut down the CC completely. Just take it down. Reapers, if they get time to kill stuff, they really do kill stuff. The Reapers do retreat. Try to give this Hellion squad as least surface area possible to take them down. We did see 1 Reaper going down, because even if you don't get the splash damage, they still do pretty decent single target damage. And GuMiho not sure where to go with these units. Even more Reapers coming out, dude. Wow. 4 Reapers on the map, 2 more coming in. And I want to show the units lost, but the game doesn't agree with it. 2 Reapers going down from Maru, and GuMiho full sending it across the map. 3 Hellions. Need to spread these Reapers out ASAP. Oh no, miss rally up the Reaper. No, Maru! Loses 1 Reaper for that. That hurts. If you click over here, the Reapers sometimes try to go a different way. They're like, I read the map differently. My Google Maps told me to go somewhere else. And Maru now has his own CC in peril. The weak Reaper in the back, so it has to get targeted down. The grenades go down, trying to do a zoning war here. Nice targeting off the Hellion by Maru there. And this Reaper in the back still alive. Only 2 Reapers of GuMiho now alive for the counter pressure, and they have to run away as the Hellions of Maru do come out. More Reapers are on the map, though. He just keeps making them. Maru the Madman, is this you thermal playing? My boys. Oh, it looked like the Reapers were pushed off the cliff there by the bomb, but they truthfully chose to go off the cliff themselves. I don't think a bomb can actually push units to a different elevation. That would be cool, but I'm pretty sure it's not possible. Now, look at this Madman. 6 Reapers on the map. Still making 2 more. He has made 10 Reapers already this game. And he just keeps on making them. And we have a Raven with Interference Matrix. That ain't gonna do shit against Reapers. Reapers don't care. Reapers are not mechanical. Now, we do have an auto turret, which is pretty good. But if the Reapers get a chance to run away... How many Reapers do we have? 8 Reapers on the map. He made 12 Reapers this game, dude. Maru... Just pulling out some cheeky stuff. We do have a siege tank in the back here, and 1 barracks is flying on in. Get that scouting information. There is 1 cyclone. And oh my god, look at this. The Hellions get dropped into the main. The Reapers are here, but the siege tank says no. Big bada-room goes down on all of the Reapers, and all of them are battered and bruised. But look at that mineral line. It's not mining whatsoever, and this Rax has taken a lot of heat away from the army that is inside of GuMiho's base. This siege tank might needs to get re-sieged a little closer to this orbital command Now we do have the auto turret, and it does kill one of the Reapers together with the Cyclone. This third CC is being delayed a little bit, and on the back of that, Maru's going for Banshees with speed upgrade. So the speed Banshees are going to come up. Oh my god, Reapers only take one spot in a medevac, mind you. Oh my god! The Cyclone, the infinite range on that thing actually kills that medevac full of Reapers and one Hellion. Wow, that really puts GuMiho back into this game. Poor Maru, dude. If he got away with those units, he would be in a very nice position. And Maru feels like he is in a shitty position with his speed Banshees. Calls GG, even though GuMiho hadn't scouted it yet. He just doesn't want to play this game, and GuMiho gets a second dub in a row. So he's one win away from, well, winners finals. And for game number 3, we load up into Ley Lines, one of the newer maps. GuMiho going up against Maru. And GuMiho is up 2-0 against Maru. Kind of an anticlimactic GG timing out of Maru in the second game. Because I thought he was doing pretty well, made 12 Reapers that game, which was cool. Went for speed Banshees behind him. I was like, oh my god, this guy's going for the ultimate meme build. And then he just kind of GG'd out. He's like, oh, I lost my medevac. I don't really have anything. If he just moves across the map, I die. I've got my speed Banshees coming up. He has a third base. I don't know. I feel like he could have played, but he didn't. But maybe he just thinks that I don't want to waste my stamina on a lost game. Gotta show him in game number 3. Before game number 3 kicks off, be sure that you subscribe to the channel. I do really appreciate it. If you like StarCraft, then you're at the right channel, because I'll be casting a lot more StarCraft for the foreseeable future. Might, of course, try some different things here and there, but StarCraft is the main focus. The thing I want to be good at. And hopefully a live event in 2025. Let's see what the dice do for me. And let's see what GuMiho and Maru do for us. Maru going for the double gas, getting the Reaper, getting the factory. GuMiho's going for a fast reactor with a factory as well. Both of them double gassing it up. And Maru going for a cheeky scout here. Sees exactly what's going on here. And since it's Legacy of the Void, we're probably not going to see a lot of change-ups here, because, you know, we've already kind of figured out the best builds for everything. Reactor is coming out for Maru now as well. So he's not going to go into Cyclones unless he wants to make a tech lab on the factory itself. And Maru is going for a CC right away. And these builds are pretty similar, but not completely. Reaper runs across the map. Might actually stop the CC from building. Could be huge. Oh, Maru does not find it, but also 2 Reapers are coming out, and Maru should know about that. So we're going to see some Reaper Hellion War going out of Maru. Actually not scouting that CC, but he knows that he can't stay there for too long. Because GuMiho's Reapers are about to pop. 2 more Reapers coming out from Maru. And Maru also making his own Hellions. Starport underway for Gumi. Yes, sirree. Starport on the map. And 2 Reapers are about to get into Maru's base. And what is Maru going to do to respond? He has the Hellion already. No kills. This Reaper gets targeted down. Actually, the bomb pushing Maru's Reaper away far enough that GuMiho's Reapers can't reach it anymore as they got hit by the bomb themselves. And somehow, no losses were taken there. Perfect game for both players so far. A pretty identical one at that, although GuMiho going for a fast tank here. Whereas Maru not getting a tech lab on his factory as of yet, electing to get an extra Hellion instead. Of course, doesn't know how heavy the pressure's going to be. We see 4 Reapers for GuMiho. Has a little Marine there that's completely stuck. But maybe he likes it there. He has a little home. Double tech lab on both of Maru's buildings. Whereas a tank is out for GuMiho now. And a very dear commenter to my heart, whose names I'm blanking on right now, commented GuMiho on one of the recent videos, and my mind just went to Kamehameha. So it was like Kamehameha, but then it was GuMiho, and then he killed his opponent. That's kind of what it made me think of. So I wanted to share that little brain fart with you guys. And it does kind of feel like it sometimes. He just obliterates his opponents in a 1-2 punch. Oh, the tank gets a nice shot on the Hellion right away, but the Hellion was in front, making sure that no splash damage was dealt to the rest of the unit. And Maru, ready with his Reapers once again, goes on top, finds the siege tank, and does not become a bottom there, does not get shot in the face by the Reapers or the siege tanks. And Maru goes for a fast second starport. Ooh, wants to go for that air superiority once again. Of course, sees the reactor on that starport and figures that is what GuMiho wants to do. He, of course, also saw the double siege tank, so he figured it out. He knows there's a siege tank coming, siege tank push with Viking support. Dude, and look at this shadow boxing of Maru. This is so good. Forcing the siege tank push to not arrive at his base. This is so good, dude. Maru, what a sicko. That was sick. Cyclone doesn't get the lock onto these medevacs. And now, or that medevac. Ooh, double siege tank get dropped. So, Maru already knew, but now he knows for sure. It's almost Christmas. But I don't like the surprise. And now GuMiho finally gets himself across the map. Maru hiding the Vikings for now, and he's going to have the Viking majority sooner rather than later. This is no election, but still very powerful to have the majority here. The Cyclone even targets a Viking there. And we have 4 Vikings for Maru, and one of the GuMiho's Vikings already weakened. GuMiho is like, oh, I guess that's it then. Kills 1 supply depot, doesn't drop any siege tanks in the main, and now Maru has siege tanks of his own. The Vikings land, because they don't want to fight a losing war. Now all of the Vikings are landed, and the fight commences. The siege tanks of GuMiho have been targeted down, and the siege tanks of Maru are still alive, and now Maru is on the chase. GuMiho can't get away and losing all of his units. He's probably not happy with that. Look at the army supply of GuMiho. It's super low, and he's gonna lose more units here. And he has to somehow try to muster a defense at home, build a bunker to siege up the tanks and have the Viking majority, and then maybe, and only maybe, he can defend. But I think this third base is completely forfeit. Now he is kind of coaxing Maru to get into siege range here. Yes, he does. Oh, gets 2 big shots, gets a third big shot, and gets rid of a lot of that tank HP, even gets rid of one of those tanks. And now the Viking majority goes to GuMiho. But is it enough? The third base, it's still in peril. Maru pumping out more units, sending them across the map, and the orbital does fly away. And Maru starts a third base on location, so this is actually very important for Maru to keep this third base from landing and mining for GuMiho. So let's see at the building count, we see double siege tank production out of GuMiho, so kind of going for another mechy build. Very important then that the third base has been lifted, so no extra gas is being mined. This is double important there. Good job on Maru's side. GuMiho going for a 4th base already, because probably just floating a lot of minerals right now. Because you're just making expensive gas units, and that's it. And more Vikings coming out here for GuMiho. Oh my god, look at that. He just needs a couple turrets maybe, but does not have an engineering bay. Actually, halfway done. He realizes it as well. It's like, if I had like 1 or 2 turrets right now, these Vikings couldn't just hover over my army and laugh at me. Laugh in my face. Ooh, GuMiho's trying to take this bottom base now, but it's kind of putting him out of position, or at least in a dangerous position. More Vikings coming out of Maru, and Maru, of course, with the double starport, should never lose air superiority again. Unless... Oh my god, big transfer here from GuMiho. Starts up a geyser right away. Tries to... Oh, goes for the bust here. Finds that only 1 siege tank is actually present and in siege mode. And this Cyclone... Oh, no, it does not get another Viking for its troubles. But GuMiho keeps himself alive. Maru, though, skyrocketing ahead in the Supply department has a bigger army, has more workers. It's making an engineering bay in the middle of nowhere. And I like this depot placement, making sure that these cyclones can't get in unnoticed. And Maru has a 4th base. Maru just starting up his 3rd base. Ooh, GuMiho just gets the 4th. He's like, I'm just grabbing it. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Mr. Maru? Oh, that's pretty good for Terran, I guess. You can put the mule on the patches you need to remove for the rich geyser. And GuMiho also has his 4th base. This is also an orbital. Wow. Oh my. Starts an armory, 3rd factory as well. I'm surprised he's not taking more geysers. 4 orbital gameplay from both players here. Let's look at the siege tank numbers. We see that Maru is really upping the siege tank count here. And also has more Vikings and is adding Liberators here. Now, GuMiho does have a bunch of Cyclones without the upgrade on the map. Oh, Maru actually switched into Mech as well. That is very cool. That makes it very difficult for GuMiho to actually come back. Because if you play the same unit set, but you just have more stuff, then it's pretty hard to lose. You see that in Zerg vs. Zerg as well. Where if your opponent goes Muta, and you go slightly later Muta, but with a greedier setup, you'll just have more gas and more Mutas, and then you win. Because you have more. And yeah, if the armies are not asymmetrically set up, it's kind of like chess. If you just have 2 more pawns, you should be winning. Unless it's opposite bishop endgame, I think. I don't know how many pawns you need then. Maybe it's different then. Then it's like, well, pawns become more important because the bishops don't do anything. Oh my god, look at what the hell. Maru builds 4 command centers right now. 4 of them things. And it kind of gives GuMiho a way back into this game. I'm a little confused. I'm like, if Maru was playing Bio right now, he would just be on his face. Like, denying this 4th base. This 5th base would not be happening. Like, but instead, he's kind of chilling. Kind of doing what Ryung did against Maru, but Maru, I'm guessing, knows what he's doing, but GuMiho is also getting to build a lot of command centers here. GuMiho even gets to be the mobile player in this game. As in, more mobile, not playing from his phone. Which, you know, playing StarCraft 2 from your phone would be interesting. I don't know if that would be fun or super lame. Because you would be very restricted by the amount of actions that you can do. So perhaps strategy becomes more important. But there might also just be compositions that are just impossible to beat because the game is built around having, like, let's say at least 300 actions per minute. Which, of course, we all easily do. We're all piano players. I've probably told you guys about a friend of mine who every so often, like, messages me, like, yo, I'm laddering again, what the hell is this bullshit? Or how do I play versus Zerg, mostly? And he, I don't know if he's still a piano player, but he played piano in his youth, at least. And so he uses his keyboard the same way, just like the thing, like this. Where, like, piano players, like, have their arms like this. He does it on a keyboard, but he's so fast. It's actually insane. Like, I'm very jealous of people that just have dexterity. Because I have small hands. They're small. I can't do Control 7. I can't do it. Even with my pinky, I can't do it. That's bullshit, actually. I couldn't do it. But I use my thumb on Control, which, if you try it, you understand why I had repetitive strain injury. Like, using your thumb for Control and then hitting 5, which is where my hatcheries is. Like, just try that on your keyboard. Control with your thumb and then 5 with your middle finger. Or whichever finger you prefer, honestly. Just, I don't know why. I just learned it that way when I was a child and I never stopped doing it that way. So, instead of fixing that, I started using Alt, which is a little closer. And I got the Razor Black Widow Ultimate Edition. Not sponsored, by the way. And it has macro keys on the left. So I can just use Control there. Now, big fight happening here. Maru goes in, gets the interference matrices on a couple tanks here of GuMiho. He does have some deeper siege tanks set up. and cyclones still maneuvering around. I think the cyclones are really interesting in this TVT matchup. This is a lot of ravens, 6 ravens here, and GuMiho is trying to catch up in the Viking count, but still has not caught up. Another Interference Matrix goes down, and Maru is pushing it back. Wow, the Cyclones, look at that. They lock on, and they don't stop. They destroy Vikings. But Maru is getting to slowly but surely push up into the basis of GuMiho. He's like, well, I'm maxed out, and how are you going to stop me from killing you? Well, GuMiho is just going to slow him down and expand to the bottom. Instead, look at this. It's so funny how he still doesn't have this gas. It's 14 minutes into the game, and you just can't take this rich geyser. So weird. Oh, the Cyclones get in. The Ravens shutting down Maru's siege tanks, and GuMiho actually putting on some counter pressure. But we do have some siege tanks on the other side of the canyon. Oh my god, dude. Cyclones are so scary. If you're not in position, they do a lot of damage. Maru does have his tanks here. Took down the planetary, but the landed Vikings take care of that. And the Cyclones on the other side of the map still putting in the work, putting in the hours. And this command center also going to go down. Dude, they are just taking the whole map. I'm loving this game. This is so cool. GuMiho is floating a lot of money. And it's making 7 Hellions in response. I love that. If Terrans had cannon, dude, oh my god. Mech would be so dumb. Interference Matrix goes down. Still no gas for both players. For GuMiho. A lot of Interference Matrices going down. All of these tanks of GuMiho are not shooting. We also see auto turrets going down, and now the Vikings come to play. They land, and they just annihilate all of these tanks with their anti-mechanical damage. And this base now is shut down with the tanks of Maru. And of course, that makes these bases very hard to hold. If your opponent is on the low ground and gets any vision, you can't mine there anymore. So it's really rewarding people that take map control fully. These center 4 bases with the rich geysers. Now, almost all of the bases have been taken. Look at this. The Ryung move goes with the Hellions. Just takes down a tank. What is that? Cyclones run in. Or, well, Hellions bump into Cyclones. And look at the Cyclones. Maru now has the Cyclone majority. And GuMiho feels like he can't play anymore. Maru calls... or GuMiho calls the GG. A little bit anticlimactic, but he just finds 2 more bases fully saturated and mining already, whereas he has trouble maintaining any semblance of mining. And of course, the army of Maru was going to push in and kill more bases, and GuMiho's army is completely gone. So, a little anticlimactic. We, of course, love to see one last big showdown and then the GG. But this was more of a macro GG. Maru's on the board, and we go to game number 4. And for game number 4, we are loaded up into King's Cove for Maru versus GuMiho. Maru taking a dub, and is now actually in this series. GuMiho is still a match point. Of course, a lot of bases on this map. We saw Serral versus Spirit on this map as well a couple days ago. That was a pretty cool game, but for some reason all of the games kind of felt like Spirit was just gonna die inevitably at some point. I liked his strategical thought. He was like, I'm gonna make a Reaper, I'm gonna make 2 Hellions, and then my opponent is gonna scramble to make enough Queens so that I don't stop him. But I'm actually just not going to make those Hellions. I'm going to invest into a very fast 3rd CC. I'm going to invest into more infrastructure. And then pressure a little bit later. Stop the creep a little later. Because the Queens won't, be out as fast. Because they're just more expensive. And I like that meta call from Spirit. Kind of like thinking, Queens are so good, but he's still going to make them. And if I just ignore the fact that he made them, make them useless-ish, maybe I can get a big advantage. Didn't end up going his way. But it's a cool meta call. I like his thinking. Now, before the action kicks off, I'm going to go back to my hotkey tangent. It's a thing I like talking about a lot. I talk about it when I do coaching a lot. Well, that's not true. I don't talk about it a lot because it's not that useful to talk about. But when it comes up, oh, I love talking about it. It's so fun. It's like everybody has their own little weird setup. And you're like, it's so subjective, but sometimes you can make objective calls. And it's like, well, do you need to get used to this? Do you just need to bite the bullet and get used to this and just cry for the next 3 weeks or so? Because it usually takes about like 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the change, to really get used to new hockey setups. Like, it took me, I think, a year to get used to using camera hotkeys. Like, I'm not kidding. It took me so long because I used to individually hotkey my queens, kind of like Idra did. And I just copied that. I was like, okay, I just copied that. And I have my hotkey or my keys on the left. I can show you, like these, under escape, where my finger is. I got those extra macro keys. So I just had one on M1, M2, M3, which I bound to 6, 7, 8. And so I could just go to my individual queens. And so I would inject, go like 6-6Q. I put inject on Q because that's pretty close there. So it's like 6-6Q, 7-7Q, 8-8Q. And so if I wanted to go to a base, I would just go 6-6 instead of a camera hotkey, which makes sense. But then at some point, I think it was 2018, I got back into the game a little bit more. And I played a tournament. It's called Red Bull Strijders, which is like Red Bull Warriors, I suppose. But in Dutch, it's called Strijders. And we had a lot of fun. Like, rough translations in Dutch are just funny, right? I think you can agree on that yourself. Just, it sounds funny when you know it's supposed to be in English or whatever, and then you say it in Dutch. Like, a lot of units in StarCraft obviously have their English name, but then just roughly translating them to Dutch is just funny as well. Both players just sitting back, making a Ravens. Let's see what Maru makes. Oh, also makes a Raven. Third command center is going down from Maru, though, whereas GuMiho is not doing that. So if Maru can get away with this, he's going to have a bigger economy and thus make more units. But yeah, that's one of my things so that I distinctly remember trying to get the camera hotkeys set up in my brain. And I would just consistently spam them early game. And just in team games, that's a big trick for me. If I just play team games, I can make a lot more mistakes and not care. But if I play 1v1, you know what I mean, right? Like, you get into that mode, like, oh, I want to win. And then you start using F2 again, which, luckily for me, I unbound that stuff. The day it came out, it was not bound. I just click it in the UI if I need it, which is only during, like, base race scenarios, where sometimes you just lose some units. But otherwise, I don't use F2. I pride myself on that. I remember switching from hatcheries on 4 to hatcheries on 5 just to have more army hotkeys on 1, 2, 3, 4. And I just love talking with people about that. Like, yeah, what do you put on 1, 2, or 3, or 4? Or do you have more or less? Or like, because I have a main army key, I have a harassment hotkey, or mostly air units on 2, and then 3 is spellcasters, just spellcasters. And then 4 is siege units, always siege units. So it's broodlords or swarm host mostly, but it can also be lurkers. Although lurkers are sometimes in the main army, depends. And then I have a Graaf, which is to the left of 1. I put Nidus worms on that, but I put my Evo chambers on it as well. So, I don't know. It just works out for me. And then I have 6, 7, 8 is used to be queens, but now it's just 6 for queens. And then 7, 8, I don't use them anymore with Zerg, do I? No, I don't. I don't use them at all. I use them with Terran and Protoss. Just 6 barracks, 7 factory, 8 starport, and the same for Protoss. Just 7... Oh no, it's 7... That's weird. I go 7 Stargate and 8 Robo. Dude, I don't know why these guys are just not interacting with each other, but they're just sitting back. King's Cove is a pretty big map, and I feel like Maru, yep, should take a small advantage here because he went for a third base earlier. GuMiho is going for mech again, floating at the barracks, going for a siege tank push once again. He's trying to get some action going here. Maru going for bio, but is getting a second tank. So let's see what's up. Just going for marine tank, most likely. Adding on some marauders as soon as he understands that Gumi is going for mech. Let's see if he scouted that. Yes, he did. He's actually scanned. Ooh, Maru pulls all the boys, throws down the auto turrets, has interference matrices, and only a couple GuMiho tanks are fighting. A lot of units in the back from GuMiho actually not fighting and stuck, and Maru getting so many value shots with the siege tanks there, but had to sacrifice a lot of his SCVs. Is he going to keep the third base here? Look at that, has to lift the third base. But Maru stays alive, stays in this game, still has a decent work account, and Gumi just starting his third base on location. So if Maru stays alive, he has a chance in this game. Even starts a fourth base. He's like, I'm floating minerals, dude. I want more minerals later. And we do see air control for Maru. And of course, retreats from this location. Doesn't have to keep it anymore. But dude, seeing Mech bust a bio player like that, that's cool. That is really cool. Just the Vikings and siege tanks. Look at the count. 7-6. And look at that. Maru's like, oh, you got Vikings? I got Vikings too. And GuMiho does reinforce. Oh, overkills this one Viking. That is pretty big. But in the end, Maru does take down all the Vikings from GuMiho. One more does come in to reinforce, but Maru is allowed to reestablish his third base. GuMiho on the back of that does get his own third base, and the siege tank of Maru already sieged up. A couple more sieging up now, and the Liberators start their freedom zones, and GuMiho is not allowed to be there anymore. Does have a lot of tanks here, but does not have air superiority, and Maru, in the nick of time, actually capitalizes on that. So yeah, just to stop the tangent, and we'll just put it towards the comments. If you want to talk about some hotkeys, let me know what your like weirdest hotkey innovation has been, and that you still play with, or you used to play with in the past, where you think it's still good, or you used to think it was good back in the day, but you just don't know anybody else doing it. My personal big thing is putting inject on spacebar. I don't know why. It works. It works for me. Oh, and I put my building, like standard building, I put it on C instead of B, which it fucked my brain for a long time, but it's just closer. I just wanted everything to the left, if that makes sense. Because advanced buildings are on V, so you have an SCV selector and you push V, then you can build like your advanced buildings. And then I put my regular buildings on C instead of B. So now I can rapid fire, which is on C for me. So I can rapid fire spine crawlers, which is doesn't really work because they are 4 hex buildings. Ooh, big siege tank push on the right gets revealed by that turret that was being made. But this is a lot of siege tanks. Oh my god, we do have a couple Liberators in that cloud of Vikings, making sure that any clumped up Viking cloud dies. Oh my god, the tanks actually target down the planetary and it dies. Maru is winning the air fight, but GuMiho gets the kill on that fourth base. And Maru, dude, Maru is just getting battered and bruised in this game. These barracks don't know, but they are very close. They are bound by the Kala. Maru has to go and try and get a fourth. Oh my god, these Cyclones get in. Massacre a couple SCVs. I guess the old Cyclone would have been slightly better at that, but I massively enjoy this one more. Dude, GuMiho actually pulling ahead here. And now does retreat from that location, even though I think he had air superiority. He does have air superiority. Why does he retreat? I guess he wants to go to a different position. Maru's barracks does get found by the Vikings. Reveals all of these tanks going back. And now Maru, still very defensive against Gumi. Still has more SCVs, but just doesn't have a base to use those SCVs on. Well, one thing I do remember, I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm sorry that I'm not talking about the game, but they're just not doing that much. I tried to switch to QuickCast in Dota 2. Like, when you press the key, it does the ability right away, which I think a lot of League players will be familiar with. It's not in StarCraft 2. And I tried to do it in Dota because I was like, well, it costs one less click. That's 50% less clicks to cast abilities, so that must be good. And I tried it, and it brain fucked me so much. And then, oh my god, fight for the air. I'll talk about it later. Auto turrets go down, but now the Vikings just go away from those. GuMiho fights the air war and is definitely winning. The Cyclones try to kind of make a difference, but these Hellions just are here to make sure these Vikings can't land. GuMiho did that already in game number 1 in Ultralove, and it was devastating. These siege tanks try to siege down again. The Vikings land on the siege tanks in the front, and these siege tanks are going to take down this base once again. Question mark. These Vikings in the main trading so efficiently. Maru just getting destroyed. All we need is another battlecruiser just jumping into the natural to really make this a complete what you call it, nostalgia trip, deja vu for Maru. Oh my god, these Vikings. Oh my god, dude. Holy moly, they just take down so many SCVs. 22 SCVs have died once again, but Maru just has SCVs to spare. Doesn't have the air superiority, but he just stays alive. Like, I know we call SOS La Cucaracha, but Maru is just staying alive. And these Ravens don't really have anything to add anymore. Don't have the energy, almost have the energy for one interference matrix. The Cyclones come out, lock onto these expensive Ravens, and take them down. And GuMiho at the back of this takes a 5th base as well. That is the one thing Maru, I guess, has going for him, that he has been able to establish a good amount of bases, and that GuMiho has been kind of conservative on the expanding, which is surprising because he was expanding a lot in the previous games. Like, if you remember Ultralove, he just went on an expanding spree. Same on Frostline, which I guess maybe he wants to go a little bit more conservative because that spreads you very thin. If you have to be everywhere on the map to protect, especially against, like, this more mobile mech with the Cyclones, it's pretty hard to defend. But yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to say about the hotkeys. I did end up not switching to the quick-cast. I tried it for a couple weeks on specific champs, which is great. Dota has like the greatest UI ever. You can change every hotkey for everything on every specific hero, for every individual hero. It's crazy how sick that is. But I felt like every time I wanted to go play some StarCraft, it fucked with my brain. So it's like, no, I'm just going to be a StarCraft player that happens to play Dota as well. I'm not going to be switching my hotkeys for every different game. And I noticed that a lot when I played all of the betas recently that came out for all the StarCraft clones, or, well, all the new age RTSs. I really just wanted to be able to use my StarCraft setup and then maybe have some cool new things. But I wanted to be able to just be dumb, just do StarCraft things, and then I can learn new things over time, right? And one thing that was very jarring to me, I don't know if you guys played that, it was the Immortals Gates of Pyre, which I commend them on trying such radical stuff. Like, I love the auto building a lot, and all the options that you get for that, which I think is just cool. But they made so many changes that as a StarCraft player, I couldn't figure it out. I was just like, what is going on? Where do I build stuff? How do I hotkey stuff? There's no, like, stealing. There's, like... It was very difficult. Like, the base was not there that I expected to be there. And so all their new stuff was exclusive, if that makes sense. Like, you had to play the new way. You couldn't play the old way. There wasn't, like, a legacy button, which... You know, it's still there if you play Command & Conquer games. It's like, do you want the legacy hotkeys? Or the legacy right-click? Or do you want the modern one? Wow, Maru actually gets on GuMiho's side of the map for the first time in a long time. Clicks down that command center with the Cyclones. They do a good amount of building damage. And I love them for it. And we see Thor's coming in. Oh my god, Thor mech is back, baby. Thors are cool units. Give him a hammer, Blizzard. Do it. Give him a hammer. Play one game of Demigod, and you'll see that the Rook in Demigod is super cool. If you haven't played that game, I don't know if you should go back, because it's really clunky, but it's basically a MOBA before MOBAs were a thing. It came out before League of Legends, and it's super cool. Like, the visuals of it, it's cool. Demogod gets a vouch. It has pretty cool modability as well. A friend of mine would also always like do custom games with his friends. Oh my god, GuMiho actually walks into a big arc of cyclones. All of his siege tanks get shut down, and the battlecruisers don't seem to be enough here. And Maru just convincingly crushes GuMiho's army there in the middle of the map, and GuMiho has nothing to fall back on, only making 3 siege tanks and 2 battlecruisers. Does he not have enough factories at home? He has 5 fact! 5! That's not enough! That's not enough for a late game. I think GuMiho effed up here. I think he was a little overconfident there. He can only make a couple siege tanks at a time. He can't remax. I think Maru is just gonna put him in a vice grip and not let loose anymore. And these couple siege tanks are doing God's work here, keeping GuMiho alive together with the SCVs repairing. But a couple battlecruisers not gonna be enough here. And Cyclones actually deal with the battlecruisers surprisingly well. And let's see, we have 5 starports on the side of GuMiho, where we only have 3 for Maru. So GuMiho really doubling down on the air superiority. Now the battlecruisers get on top of the tanks. GuMiho trying to be smart, but instantaneously, interference matrix goes down, and those matrices shutting down the battlecruisers. Lots of scans going down. Victory scans, perhaps. As Maru takes a big supply lead on King's Cove. And, well, I think we can all feel that this is kind of an older map. It's so big, there's so many bases. And I would be surprised if it really gives us good games, but at least we get a lot of long games, which can be cool. Oh my god, these Cyclones completely destroyed by the siege tanks. And now also some Yamato cannons. Boom, boom, boom. I want you in my room. Ooh, blue flame on the GuMiho Hellions. Gotta get that blue flame upgrade, boy. Let's see. 5 factories still. Wow, dude. GuMiho is just going for air mech with siege tank support, instead of just going for more actual ground mech. That's surprising because he also made the Thors, but I guess the Thors were just to help with the air war. Which, surprisingly, that's their thing. They're just very, very fat Goliaths. I would kind of like it if we could get the tech reactor on, like, tier 3. I don't know where you would upgrade it. Maybe, like, on the fusion core, but just so you can get double Thor production in the late game. But it's probably broken. At that point, you could just make multiple factories. And I do think of that fondly back when I played Wings of Liberty in like 2011, 2012. Just playing 4v4 and just rushing Thors, dude. Just trying to optimize your 3 factory, 2 base Thor rush, 3-3 Thors. I would regularly have like 6 Thors with 3-3. And I thought I was doing a good job. Like, those were the days. Oh my god, Maru gets in here. Oh, look at all of the interference matrices shutting down half of GuMiho's army. Is this unfair? Nah, I think this is just cool. A lot of Vikings can land and shut down Maru's army once again, but look at the dent that was made into GuMiho's army. GuMiho's army, of course, fully mechanized, so interference matrix does a good job of shutting it down. Maru finally taking one of the bases that could be considered GuMiho's, as he also has the mirrored base. And finally, kind of making some endgame / supreme late game decisions. Or super late game, I'm sorry. Supreme late game does not exist. Remember. Remember. The 5th of December? September? Dude, I'm just confused. There's so many units that usually you don't see in these numbers in TVT. It's kind of crazy. This map is so big that you can just kind of run away from your opponent at all times as well. And the Cyclones, of course. But I'm definitely loving this game so far. Maru fighting for his tournament life. Well, he's going to go to the loser bracket if he loses, but obviously you want to go to the winner's bracket. Meet Cyril if he beats Clem. No spoilerinos just yet. GuMiho trying to find some damage with his Hellions, but gets caught by the Cyclones. Ooh, they both lock onto the same one. But they do kill them with their auto attack. Or their regular attack, I suppose. Well, the PF does finish up, gets one shot, gets two shots, and then goes down. I guess canceling it would have been better, but... Oh my god, so many ravens. How many ravens is that? That is crazy. 18 ravens. Maru, are we back in 2019? 18? 17? Who remembers the mass auto turret spam? And I think they also did the seeker missile spam, right? Oh my god, the raven spam goes in hard. Maru fights into GuMiho with his mass raven army. Is this rough or is this Maru from back in the day? Dude, I used to hate that part the most. Like, I love the campy games with like Raven battle cruiser versus like Broodlord with the old leash range. You'd actually have to micro the Broodlord to get the most range out of them. I love that a lot with the stupid seeker missile shit. But I kind of like that. But then at some point they ruined it. I think it was when you had the huge maps and ghosts, of course. I don't remember. But something... They changed the Raven, and we still had mass Raven, but it was worse for some reason. But of course we have the Perdition turret. It's completely gone. It's still in the campaigns if you want to enjoy those. So, wow. 21 Ravens, by the way. Maru, 21 Raven. We're calling it now. Ravens to 3 supply in the next patch. We have to stop these Terrans from playing for the late game. Dude, the Cyclones, though. Oh, look at this. Just shuts down all of the siege tanks. And goes in with his Cyclone army. Even some Hellbats as well. And the siege line of GuMiho, even though it looked pretty deep, still gets broken. The PF is still alive, gets mass repaired. And a lot of landed Vikings come in to deal with these Cyclones. But the Cyclones, with their extra anti-building damage, take down the PF. And look at that. The Vikings now fight the Cyclones. I think that's favorable for the Vikings. Oh, all of the siege tanks get shut down. Most of the GuMiho units aren't even fighting there. One siege tank, unsieged, fighting back for the motherland. And GuMiho feels like he needs to tap out. Maru has robbed him of almost all of his bases, and Maru has a big part of the map. Takes him down. GuMiho can't handle the interference matrix spam out of 21 Ravens, dude. A lot of thumbnails in this game. I'm not sure which one I should take for this series. But wow. Let's go to a final best of 5 decider match. Game number 5. Alright, alright, alright. We have a game number 5. Maru versus GuMiho. The winner moves on to the winners finals of Homestory Cup 26. Meaning that they are top 3. The loser drops down and fights the loser of Clem versus Cyril, which is our next video. Now, I won't be uploading a shit ton of videos in the near future. I'm trying to do like one every 2 days, because I'll be on holiday for about a week. So I'm just pre-recording a couple of these and just kind of drip feeding them, as it were. Because, you know, I'm not doing this full time. I don't have unlimited time to record these, sadly. As you can see in the length of this video, for example, it's probably like more than an hour, this video. And it takes about double that to make them. A little over double. Yeah, like 1.5. So I'm just trying my best to get through the playoffs ASAP. But so the videos will slow down a little. And I was like, I'll say it in game 5. That's when the people still watching probably care when the next ones come out. But Clem versus Cyril, you can probably expect it in 1 or 2 days from when you watch this video. And then, you know, 1 or 2 days after that, another video. Which I'm not sure if I'll do loser's bracket or winner's bracket first. I've predetermined it somewhere in a Google Doc, and I just follow that. So I don't know, you know, if I have to look it up on Wikipedia, I know who wins. Which I don't want to. I don't want to know. You know, sometimes I remember, but if I just don't think about it too much, I don't know if you guys know this trick, but if you just try not to think about who won, you actually don't know. You just actively block out the thought. Like, huh, who won? Oh, I don't think about that. I don't know who won. I don't even want to know. I don't know, it works for me. Same with looking at the replays. I just don't even look at like the timer, because it tells you how long the replay lasts, but I've just forgotten that information's even there. I've not looked at that for like at least half a year. Because I remember distinctly from like when I started doing some replay casting, I was like, but if I click the replay, I see how long it lasts. But you just zone it out. And then at the start, you just go to Wikipedia, you just check which games were there, you just make a document like, then I cast this, then I cast this, then I cast this, then I cast this. And then you never look at the Wikipedia again. Or, well, sometimes I do to make sure that I can give you guys some background information on how the players got where they are in the bracket and what the stakes are. Because a very prominent Dota 2 caster looked at my stuff and gave me some feedback, which was very cool. Shoutouts to Cap. And it was like, yeah, you really have to give people some background before they commit to watching the next hour of gameplay. And I was like, huh, that kind of makes sense. If I click on an hour-long video, you kind of have to convince me why I should be watching those. Which also kind of made me do the rating that I was doing for the last, like, let's say 20 videos. I was like, okay, if I rate the series at the end and then I put it in the description, people can check out or the end of the video or the description to know if they want to watch the video. But I don't know, it doesn't seem to be working, doesn't seem to be providing the service I thought it would, so we kind of stopped doing those, but it was a fun experiment nonetheless. Now we see 1-1 on both sides again, and this is of course the match that is going to determine the winner, so I wouldn't be surprised if these players play slightly more defensive and don't try to Hail Mary it on like a proxy 2-racks not being found. Oh, this Hellion of GuMiho finds the units of Maru coming across the map. The Cyclone locks onto the Hellion right away. Wow, Gumi meets this push, and Maru actually goes in head first, but already loses half of his units here. I don't know if he wants to stay here. A Banshee comes out, can click down all of these units, but Maru does get away. The Cyclone's not in a position to lock onto this medevac, and it does get away. Flashbacks to game number 2, where Maru could have potentially lost another medevac to Cyclones and lose the game instantaneously, but what a defensive setup by GuMiho. Takes a significant lead, I want to say, here in game number 5. Kills a couple of units that definitely should not have been killed. There's 3 Cyclones on the map, and he's starting a second factory really early on. Maru starts a CC. GuMiho already has his 3rd CC almost done, dude. GuMiho is in such a good position. He has more gases, he has a faster 3rd CC, he held off an attack, and now he can even go on to the counteroffensive. Now, the Banshees were seen by Maru, so can he defend against the double Banshees? He has the Marines in position, he has a Cyclone in position, does not have an engineering bay, does not have turrets. When a Hellion tries to poke up, Siege Tank notices, and a Cyclone comes in, cleans up the Hellion. And now, oh, the Raven Cyclone go to the main, kind of trying to shadow box the Banshees. But the Banshees get in, and yes, 2 Banshees do one-shot an SCV. And oh, wow, he actually doesn't go that deep. He's so afraid of getting locked on by these Cyclones that he only kills the 1 SCV and the 1 Marine. GuMiho wants to keep these bad boys alive. The Banshee's still alive. 3 Cyclones here in the back. If these Ravens go out a little bit too far, I like that he has them over there. These Ravens just suddenly die. And the factory gets scattered out by GuMiho. So GuMiho knows that he's playing into second factory play. Doesn't see Stim being researched or anything. And these Banshees picking off more Marines. Oh, the Cyclone does get a lock on, kills the 1 Banshee. These Marines aren't super high value because Maru is heading into that mech. And goes for the Cyclone upgrade as well. Is putting down his 3rd base. Oh, his Cyclone gets locked on by the Cyclones of GuMiho. Gets an instant bop. GuMiho is getting super good trades here. Look at that. GuMiho just has like 750 more resources lost on Maru's side, so that's a pretty big advantage. If GuMiho has more workers, has his 3rd base down already has those gases, has the armory ready, factories are ready. Like, he has 1 more factory than Maru as well, dude. GuMiho slowly but surely pulling ahead here, but Maru's still in it. If you can just get past this grueling mid-game that will be coming up. I think he can do a lot here. He showed that he can win in the late game, super late game, versus GuMiho. GuMiho, oh my god, look at these siege tanks. Very fun map. Thank you, Heart of the Swarm. Oh, no, this was Legacy, actually. Legacy. Early Legacy, but still. Can't blame Heart of the Swarm for everything. Meanwhile, GuMiho just taking a 4th base. Maru can't mine from his natural. He just has siege tanks to deal with. He does try to get air superiority. He has the Ravens. He does have the interference matrix as well. And he actually gets GuMiho to back off. He can make more SCVs and actually try to recover in this game. He has a 4th base making. Building. Gets armories for himself. Now gets a 3rd factory. So I feel like Maru is going to have a smaller army for a big while here as GuMiho finishes up 2 more factories. Finishes up a 4th base. GuMiho can just keep barreling down Maru's front door. And if Maru makes one misstep, doesn't defend perfectly, he might just get taken out here. In game number 5, gets a scan on the full army. But if we look, like the army of Maru is small, but the worker count is okay-ish. This will be a great map or a great game for like a ninja base on Maru's side. It's a pretty big investment, but if you just drop all the mules there, like potentially this base, right? Like it's technically GuMiho's base, but he's not going to find it for a long while. And then later in the game, if you've mined it out like 3/4 of the way, that's a huge win for any end game scenario. Even super late game, it already starts to matter. Double upgrades are coming out. And look at Maru going for a base on location. Should have picked this one, buddy, because I feel like this one is going to get found out rather quickly. GuMiho just casually walks in, finds the CC, just skirts by it with 1 Viking accidentally. That feels bad. If this base was a little bit further back here, he would not have seen it. GuMiho wasn't actively looking for it. The Vikings just kind of saw it. But maybe he's just very, very efficient with his movement and he was actually looking for it. But good on GuMiho to check. Cancels one of Maru's bases there, which is even making a 4 base here. Could land it on either side. If, as Maru, you can take this area, you can defend this base and this base fairly well. So let's see if Maru gets this high ground location on this ramp. Get 1, 2, 3 tanks. 4th tank, couple turrets, but no. GuMiho walks in. This is scary, dude. We see 3 Ravens, full of energy. They can interference matrix. The Vikings actually tried to target 1 down. They didn't get it, and GuMiho barrels down the 4th base of Maru, actually, from 2 sides. And, oh my god, the interference matrices go down so late. Maru loses a lot of his army. He has to abandon his 4th base. So what can he do? Still has some siege tanks in his natural. Trying to shadowbox this fight, or this army of GuMiho now gets his siege tanks on top of the Corridor of Death, the original one, but GuMiho gets on top of the 3rd base and the center field of Maru. And Maru does get a bunch of siege tank kills with his Vikings. He has air superiority, but he does not have a 3rd base. So how is he going to deal with that? The Hellbats try to walk in, don't do anything, and Maru calls G to the G. GuMiho takes this series 3-2. Crawls back after losing 2 games in a row. He was up 2-0. Maru crawls back, fights back, fucking puts his nails in his opponent's eyes, eye socket balls, whatever. And GuMiho, in the end, pretty convincingly takes this last game on Abyssal Reef. And honestly, that was a pretty good series. We don't do the rating thing anymore, but it would be pretty good. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my extremely mediocre TVT commentary. And maybe I salvaged it a little bit with the tangent on hotkeys. I hope so, because that stuff is very fun. I hope you guys had fun watching some StarCraft 2. More to come, more Homestory Cup. I'm going to finish off the playoffs and then go into the group stages. If there's any games that you're looking forward to, let me know down below. Wow, so cringe. See you in the next one. Cheers.